Society's not always equipped to let us talk about death in general, but when a death is complicated because of alcohol, drugs, or suicide, people find it even harder to know what to say. Would you agree? And I guess, how do you handle other people who may react badly or try to sidestep things about your grief?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think that's absolutely right. And I think I expected some disquiet with all my memoirs because they all involve death. I mean, the death of each person was what prompted me to write the book. And I knew that talking honestly about some of Jill's difficulties, from the shoplifting to the alcoholism, that there would be people who think, this is, robbing her of her dignity. And to which I can only say, she didn't really have that dignity when she was in a bad state, and that I like to think she would understand the impulse to honesty that's there in the book. But yeah, there will be people who feel we shouldn't talk about this stuff. I remember going to Josie's funeral. She was only in her 40s. It was a self-destructive death. It was, in effect, a suicide. But I knew that word, I wondered whether that word would be used or whether there'd be any gesture or acknowledgement in the funeral about the tragic manner of her death, and there wasn't. Because I think it's too uncomfortable in that climate. But I think in a memoir, in a book, as long as you're not being malicious and vindictive or got any grievance that you're airing against the person who's died, and I don't think I did in any of my books, you should do it. I mean, there shouldn't be a taboo around death and talking honestly about it, or talking honestly about the aftermath of death and how it leaves people. Yeah. It's a really important part of our lives.
Yeah, and one that people hide away. We have a sort of related question from Jane. My daughter Amy died after battling with alcohol addiction all her adult life. There is a perception that those suffering with alcohol addiction make a choice to drink. This is exactly kind of what we were saying earlier, when of course the science tells us that addiction is a progressive disease which changes the structure of the brain. I wonder what you think about the lack of adequate and expert services to help those struggling with alcohol.
Well, I think it's bad. And I think, okay, the alcoholic, the addict is probably going to sort of shy away. Certainly my sister would have shied away from any intervention. She did do whenever there were opportunities. But nonetheless, more could have been done. More could have been done at an earlier stage. I'm not blaming any individuals in the family, but yeah, the wider services provided by our society were lacking. And there must be cases where they could have made a difference, where lives could have been saved. Because the importance of an early kind of intervention is crucial. That we know the death rates for alcoholics are really, really bad. But we know if the problems are picked up early enough, there is some hope.